Today's segment of SoundBalming is brought to you by Jimmy and Mary's Authentic Body Care. I cannot express to you how much we love their products. Although we use them all year, as the weather gets colder, we need these products even more. The dreaded drop in temperature, the dryness, the itchiness, and the unnecessary flakiness is inevitable. Shea butter from Jimmy and Mary's Authentic Body Care is the only thing that works for my skin and hair needs. Not only do these products cure my dry skin, the whipped butter goes on smoothly and doesn't leave that uncomfortably thick, sticky residue. Bonus? It smells absolutely amazing. There are so many different scents to choose from too. Not only do they carry skincare products, there are products for authentic living, face, shower, hair and beard, spritzers and perfumes, and bath products. Let me tell you, we cannot even keep the stuff in the studio. The entire production team as well as all our children use Jimmy and Mary's product. Jimmy and Mary's take pride in creating quality, handcrafted products from simple ingredients for the entire family. Their products are made for all skin types and are 100% handmade, 100% vegan, and 100% cruelty-free. Skincare is important. Moisture is key, and keeping our skin and hair hydrated is essential. I cannot emphasize how much we trust Jimmy and Mary's for all of our skincare needs. Hurry on up to jimmyandmarys.com and check out their products. Did I mention service is fast and efficient too? Don't forget to mention that you heard about Jimmy and Mary's Authentic Skincare on SoundBalming. Use the discount code SoundBalm20 to get 15% off. That's SoundBalm20 for 15% off at Jimmy and Mary's Authentic Skincare.
Hey everybody, welcome to SoundBalming. I created this show for people who want to experience a radical, life-changing journey through the sounds of my diverse guests. I hope that each sound you hear on this show will strengthen your faith, encourage your dreams, and challenge you to awaken the greatness within you.
Drop the bomb. Drop the bomb. We're gonna drop the bomb. Drop the bomb. We're gonna drop the bomb. Drop the bomb. We come to drop the bomb. Drop the bomb.
This is a journey into sound. A journey which along the way will bring to you new color, new dimension, new values, and a new experience.
Ladies and gentlemen, the star of the show,
LaMarr, Darnell Shields.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to my show. I am Dr. LaMarr Darnell Shields, the creator of SoundBalming, and my goal with this show is to introduce you to people with the ideas that will help you unlock your full potential, like my next guest, Dr. Michael Parisa. But before we bring Dr. Michael Parisa in, I want to just thank all of my new guests, my new bombers. Welcome to the community. And my old heads, you know what we do. Before we get this party started, we always start with our 3 breaths. Always start with our 3 breaths. So I want to encourage my new people to sit back, sit up, roll your shoulders back, palms facing up. Your palms are facing up in a position of receiving, and everything is soft. Your face is soft, your jaw, your eyes. Slowly close your eyes and put your tongue at the roof of your mouth. We're going to do our 3 breaths, Dr. Parisa, so if you can join us as well. Start with our first breath. There we go. So we're going to inhale through our nostril. Inhale. Hold it for 3 seconds and exhale out of our mouths. Next breath, we're going to go for 5 seconds. Inhale. And then exhale. Our last breath, we're going to go deep. We're going to go for 10 seconds. So inhale, hold it for 10 seconds, exhale. And what do we call that? We call that the breath of life. And speaking of breath of life, we have a breath of fresh air that's joining us right now in the bomb shelter. Dr. Michael Pariser. He is a psychotherapist in private practice in the great city of Los Angeles, California, with over 20 years of experience treating emotional issues. He is a certified psychoanalyst who practices from a contemporary relational model. Dr. Pariser is also the author of No More, Mr. Nice Guy, The Hero's Journey, a step-by-step guide to becoming an integrated male. He believes that at the heart of all mental health issues are feelings that are experienced as unbearable. So they are replaced by oversimplified approaches that don't work in the real world. The solution is to reintegrate your feelings, which will provide you a greater sense of freedom, effectiveness, and aliveness. To this, Dr. Pariser utilizes emotionally oriented, deep focus psychotherapy that gets you directly to the root of the problems rather than focusing on reliving short-term symptoms, which will only come back again. You hear that? Because they will come back unless you deal with them. His goal is treatment that lasts. And as a recovering nice guy himself, we love nice guys. He knows firsthand, in addition to his personal work in this area since 2012, he has been helping nice guys find their way to greater confidence. Listen, fellas, how is your love life going? How is your work career? Are you happy with your results? Do you ever feel like your efforts are being wasted, overlooked, underappreciated? Are you tired of trying? Are you confused as to why nice guys seem to always finish last? Well, let me just tell you, my man, Dr. Michael Pariser, is going to break it down with us and hang out with us in the bomb shelter. Mike, thank you for coming to the show, man. I appreciate you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to, I have a biography on my website, but I've never heard it read with so much aliveness and enthusiasm and animation.
Well, my English teacher, my art teacher, my detention teacher, all thank you for me doing all those things that I've been doing. So, Mike, is it cool to call you Mike, Dr. Pariser? Where should I call you?
You can call. I don't like Mike, but Michael's all right, or Dr. Michael, or
there we go. I like to be real clear with the people that come on my show.
All right.
We asked those questions in the beginning. So, Michael, first of all, thank you for joining me. Let our listeners know where you're calling in from and how are you doing. I always like to check in, Michael, with people just to see how they're doing with this pandemic, man, because this thing has shaken all of our foundations. So I like to check in with my guests, like I started out with my breathing exercise, just to lay the foundation of what we're going to do. So how are you doing and where are you calling in from?
I'm calling in from Marina Del Rey, California. And I'm doing great because I talk about a bubble. I live on a boat. And so I'm a bubble on the ocean with my girlfriend, my partner. And so we're pretty well isolated, and it's a marina, so it's kind of gated off. And if anything happens, we're heading out into the Pacific where it's safe.
Well, let's talk about that before we get into it, man. How is it living on a boat? My partner, my business partner, whose name is Marina, how ironic. She was named after Marina because she lived in a marina and around a marina. How is the life living on the boat? And how are you dealing with, there are wildfires all over California. Evidently, you're not directly affected. I may be speaking too fast. How is it living on the boat? And then how is California, man, with all the wildfires that's just taking place all over? And Marina, my business partner who lives in that area, where she was hit really bad with wildfires.
So first of all, I'll do the wildfires quickly. Most of them were up north. And Marina Del Rey is a part of Los Angeles, so it's Southern California. There was one reasonably large Southern California fire, but it was about, I want to say 100 miles east. So we got some smoke and we saw red suns, but it wasn't all that bad where I live. But yeah, it's terrible, and it's only going to get worse if we don't do something about the climate and the planet.
Yeah, I know.
We can't burn down the Amazon and keep running petroleum fueled vehicles and expect that things are going to change. They're not going to change.
They are definitely not going to change. And you are a man Michael who knows about change. You write about it, you discuss it, you blog, you have books about it. But I want to jump right into this. I want to talk about the definition of being a man. You hear that quite a bit. You hear this definition of being a man. And what does that actually mean to you? I'm going to start with this real quick. My mentor, Dr. Naeem Akbar, who I have a lot of love and respect for. And this was his definition. He would say to me, he says that malehood is from the waist up, but manhood was from the waist down. And I always love that metaphor. And some of us might be missing that. So I'm going to say it one more time. He says, manhood is from the waist up, but malehood is from the waist down. Now, that was Dr. Naeem Akbar, the great psychiatrist, also a therapist as well. So, Michael, what is your definition of being a man?
Well, when we're talking about being a man, we're talking about being a whole, complete, solid, good-hearted, honest, integrated man. And that's somebody who is very much, I want to say very much a human being, very much not trying to prove anything, not trying to pretend to be, not trying to get others to do. Someone who is kind of standing not as an isolated individual, but someone who is standing in connection with other people in the world, while at the same time being and expressing who he is, how he feels, and what he wants in the world, and then going out and trying to get it without stepping on other people. That doesn't mean you can go through life and never hurt anybody else ever, but it does mean that's not your intention. You're not using other people, but you are trying to get what you want. You are forging ahead in conjunction with other people.
So I heard you in your definition. I want to pull out a word that you just said: hurt, not step on and hurt other people. So based on what was shared with me from my producer and also from what I had to read myself, and I love this nice guy concept. Was there some pain that happened to you? Was there some pain inflicted on you as a young male, as a young man, that encouraged you and inspired you to write this book about this journey? And is being a nice guy a bad thing?
Okay, so those are good questions. So yes, and yes. There's a lot that happened to me when I was a young man. Growing up, I had a very, very domineering mother and a much more passive father. And my mother was cruel and exploitative, and it really cost me years of being able to stand up and say, here's who I am and here's what I want. Because I was trained as a child to serve her. I was trained to look for other people's needs and to make them happen. And I was trained not to even know what I want. And that's part of what is at the basis of nice guys' problems. And I don't mean it's bad to be nice, but it's a problem if you are a Mr. Nice Guy who's the core of which is if I suppress my own needs and I just focus on trying to make other people happy, especially women, I will get everything I'm looking for, especially love, and live a problem-free existence and get what I want without having to ask for it. And it doesn't work. But that's what nice guys believe. And that's what's at the core of being a Mr. Nice Guy. So it's not bad to be nice. It's a problem being a Mr. Nice Guy.
It's interesting you say that, Michael, because I just growing up, being around a lot of females and women, and I remember women describing guys. Let's just say you and I are good friends, Michael, and you're about to come over. You've hung out with them, and then let's just say another person comes up, and let's just say my cousin Jenny. Jenny is describing you, and she says, Mike was really nice. Like
Mhm.
we don't really, that's not the first word that you typically want to hear. You know, when I think about that nice piece, it's also like when I say, man, he's very interesting. Because
Yeah,
that's the part
exactly.
so I interview Mike when
They're code words. These are code words.
they're code word. And I'm like, Michael was very interesting. You can go in so many different directions. I would always tell my female friends, especially when I was in high school and college, and they would describe me to their friends. I said, don't start off with that. That character was like, he's really nice.
Nice.
Like, give me some other, and I don't know if people really understand that, but I'm saying from a male's perspective, and I'm speaking my truth and honor other folks' truth, but you sort of elevated that when you said that, yeah, I was catering to other people's needs. I was pouring into them, in particular my mother, because a lot of times our toxic relationships, and I want you to tell me if I'm going in the right direction, typically starts in our home, right? And then that carries over into the other relationships. So as a person who has some challenging times with your mother and then writing about this and then getting into other relationships, what advice do you have for individuals who come from homes with very toxic relationships and they cannot develop, and we're talking to the male perspective, and they struggle with maintaining and relationship, not only just with the opposite sex, Michael, because it also
with everybody.
With everybody, because if you and I grew up together, we hung out, we're playing baseball, playing sports on the boat, and if you're struggling with my relationship, you know, more than likely it came from somewhere else. And of course, when we're young, I'm not analyzing you. We 12 years old, like, hey, what's up with you and your mom? I'm not going that deep.
Let me do a simplified demonstration, okay? Mm-hmm. So it goes to exactly what you're saying. So when you're born, let's say this is you. You're unformed. You're an unformed baby. You could take any shape, right? So if your environment looks like this, you're going to wind up looking like this. If your environment looks like this, you'll wind up looking like this. Well, if you have a cruel or domineering mother or father that's kind of like this, you're going to wind up looking like this. And when you go out in the world and you meet a healthy person who might look like this or like this, there won't be a fit. But when you meet somebody like this, it's going to be a match. And it's going to then perpetuate everything that you learned that was toxic when you were a kid. And you can't ever change if you are walking around the world like this, looking for these people, and you keep, some of us, by the way, we can play both roles. We learn both roles, so we can do both roles, but we can't do this. We can't do this. We can only do this. And so if you're going to change this, if you're walking around like this and you want to change it, you're going to have to do the work. And the work is not easy. The work is not, I read a self-help book and I have an insight. Doesn't work that way. I heard there's a book, it's not relevant to this topic exactly, but the title of the book is Transformation, the Hard Work Miracle. And what it means is you have to go to work to understand what's happening here and little by little begin to change it and take risks. So when you meet this person, you have to stay away. When you meet this person, you're going to have to try to do something different. And you're probably going to need some help doing it. Very few people can actually make deep changes on their own.
I know that's why what drives me crazy, Michael, is when I hear people say self-made, this is a man who's done it on his own, a woman who's done it on his own. And we're by nature creatures who need relationship. We thrive off on relationships. And when we say that we're doing it by ourselves, you know, it's such a big lie, but we admit this to ourselves. So speaking of the work, because you're talking about doing the work, what work did you, Michael, have to do on yourself before you became a psychotherapist? What work did you have to do on yourself before you got into other relationships? And what work, because we're going to talk about your book, and what work did you have to do on yourself before you sat down to write this book?
Okay, good question. So I did a lot of work. It's mostly psychotherapy. Mm-hmm. And there's different kinds of psychotherapy. But the kind that I did primarily is kind of contemporary psychoanalysis, which is about getting in touch with all of your feelings and learning to tolerate them and learning to integrate. So experience, tolerate, integrate, and then utilize, because feelings are critically important to life. We live in a world where people don't seem to get that. If you lived in a non-industrial society, everybody would, be communicating feelings, because that's the kind of central data of life. But here people say, I'm not a feeling person. I'm a thinking person. I'm an engineer. I'm a data guy. I'm a software. I'm a blah, 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 blah. And so I'm above anger. I always turn the other cheek. Or, crying is for babies, or, all this kind of crap. And meanwhile, what you're doing is throwing away the useful information that comes with emotions, because you don't like the way they feel. Well, tough shit. The important thing is to feel them, because feelings carry information. Can I do a quick analogy?
Yes,
Let's say you're a general, right? And you are on the eve of battle, and you're kind of assured of victory because your forces outnumber those of the enemy. And then you get information that the enemy's forces have now been reinforced and they outnumber you. Well, if you need to kind of take that information in, and it's the feeling, that's the emotion. The emotion is this unpleasant information. But if you dismiss the information because you don't like the feeling, like disappointment, you'll go into battle and get annihilated. It doesn't work well if you ignore. You must take the feelings in, including especially the bad feelings.
And so what are some strategies that you use to help men? Let's unpack this for the men that are listening to the show. What are some strategies that you use to help men unpack those feelings? Because, Michael, we live in a world where we're not supposed to talk about our feelings. If you were my dad and I got hurt on the baseball field, you're like, oh, shake it off. But I'm like, my dad, I just got hit with a Louisville Slugger and also the baseball, but just shake it off. So right. How do we help men unpack those feelings and emotions without feeling like the world is going to judge them? Because again, there are these roles that exist between masculinity and femininity, and I'm going to come back to that in a second. But what are some strategies that you have for those men, those males who are struggling with those emotions?
Okay, so I want to kind of tweak this a little bit, and this is not. I don't know how many women you have listening to your podcast. I hope many.
A whole lot of women. Look at this face, man. Wouldn't you listen to this show?
Absolutely. Okay. So this is going to come as a shock to people, but
we like shock, man. We like shock, but we honor truth. So go ahead.
Right. So this is honest shock. Mm-hmm. Women are no better at emotions than men are.
And I agree.
And when I sit down with women and talk to them one-on-one, they agree too. But they're no more emotionally intelligent than men are. They are different. They have different strengths and different weaknesses as a rule. These are big generalizations. I understand that. There's lots of exceptions. But as a rule, men tend to be simpler and more optimistic and use the emotions that they have. Women tend to be able to talk a lot about emotions and use emotion words, but they tend to often get kind of bogged down in a lot of different feelings and get lost in it. And neither one of them is any good at coming together and saying to the other person, I don't like this about you. Neither one of them can do it. And so men will just kind of shut up, and women will go talk to their girlfriends about their mother, or their mother about the boyfriend, or the boyfriend about the girlfriend, but they can't come together and say, I don't like what you just said.
And why is that so, Michael? Why do you think that is so?
They don't like the feelings that it's scary. And they don't know how to handle fear and anxiety to begin with. And secondly, they're afraid of the consequences, which is rejection and exile. And on a very deep level, a lot of people have a pocket of what I call a depressive core, or a depressive core narrative, which is something like, something, I'm unlovable, or I'm the secret truth is I'm subhuman and I don't belong here. I'm an imposter, or I'm a subhuman worm, or I'm alien or defective, and therefore I don't belong here. I'm unlovable, and that everybody's afraid that truth will come out. So they're afraid of relationships being destroyed. They're afraid of being abandoned and rejected. And so people kind of stay away, and it takes years and hard work and risk and courage and trial and error and picking yourself up after failure to get to the point where you can look somebody in the eye and say, you know something? I didn't like what you just said. That hurt me. And so what I do with both men and women, the first thing I do is I do a body scan. And this might be something you already know, or many people might know, but I start with something like the breathing that you did at the beginning of this. I have people kind of lie down or sit comfortably in a chair, and they breathe. And then you go body part by body part. You put your attention. So I start with the feet and work all the way up through every part of the body until you get to the face and the top of the head. And ask yourself, what sensations are you having? Where in your body do you feel a sensation, and what is that sensation? As a rule, most of the sensations will be here in the torso, in the stomach, and the shoulders, and absolutely the face. And each emotion has a different set of sensations. And so by identifying the sensations, you can identify the feelings if you don't know what they are already. And then you start to talk about or experience, kind of feel yourself with the feeling and say, all right, I'm hurt. Okay, great, I'm hurt. Nobody ever died of hurt. Nobody ever died of anxiety. Nobody ever died of any emotion. You can't die of shame. Nobody can die of a feeling. It's a feeling. And so the goal is to experience it and then ask yourself, what information is it carrying? And what can I do with that information that's emotionally intelligent? How can I solve my problem in an emotionally intelligent way using what I know about how I feel?
I love that. Those are very tangible things, listeners, that you can do, because quite often, Michael, people are looking for this formula that a rocket scientist or some chemist or some great engineer has created, when you're just talking about just starting with scanning your body. And I think questions are really, really important. I'm always talking about questions on the show. Albert Einstein talked about how he spent more time on the questions than he answered. And I think as you're talking about, asking yourself questions as you're scanning your body, but then also owning those things. Speaking of owning those things, there's a word that you hear a lot in the world, is masculinity, or toxic masculinity. Now, I need you, Michael, to help us define toxic masculinity and healthy masculinity. And then, are they constantly doing a dance with one another?
Well, as I understand toxic masculinity, it has to do with a historic sense that men are superior or ought to be, or ought to be dominant. Whereas healthy masculinity allows for strength without domination. So I can be powerful with you, not over you. And the subtle difference expresses in the difference between assertiveness and aggression. Aggression is toxic. It means I come at you and I'm trying to hurt you, control you, dominate you, ignore your personhood, your needs, your wants, in order to get what I want. Assertiveness sets it out there, but doesn't ask you to roll over and get out of my way or get crushed. It says, okay, here's who I am. And then it asks, and who are you? That's healthy masculinity. I want to know who you are. I want to know what you want too. But I don't want to know. A nice guy, here's the difference. Nice guys are passive. They want to know what you want, and they're going to try to give it to you. Assholes are aggressive. They only care what they want. They don't care what you want. An assertive, integrated, healthy male knows what he wants and puts it out there, wants to know what you want and wants you to put it out there, and then wants to work together to get both of us what we want.
So I love that. So let's talk about your book then. How does your book guide men to discover their masculinity?
Okay. So it's specifically aimed at men who identify as nice guys. And it grows out of a pre-existing book called
How would I identify myself as a nice guy? Is there like a checklist that you have in the book? Are there some things that I should be looking for? How do I know that I'm in this particular category?
Because you, generally speaking, if you're a nice guy with that kind of nice guy problem, you're always thinking about how can I make somebody else happy? You never say like, okay, honey, here's what I want for dinner. You go, what do you want for dinner? You take a woman out on a date. Where do you want to go? You don't call up and say, just put on your little black dress and I'll pick you up at 7. I'm taking you to this place. You go, where do you want to go? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Nice guys are anxious. Nice guys are always trying to hide bad things. Nice guys are always worried about making everybody else happy. Nice guys are dishonest. Nice guys are always involved in what are called covert contracts.
So why are nice guys, Michael, considered to be dishonest? Like, what would make a nice guy dishonest? Is it themselves, or is it?
Because they're not out there telling you what they want. They're hiding their desires and trying to get them in a roundabout way. I'll give you an example. So, and everybody in the audience can ask themselves, do you do this? So you're driving and you come to a 4-way stop sign, right? Out in LA, we got a lot of them, but maybe if you're in a city, maybe you don't have them, but all right. So, but it could be a pedestrian. So you come to the 4-way stop sign and you and another car arrive at about the same time. Maybe you got there a little earlier and you could kind of insist on the right of way, but you're a nice guy, right? So you wave the other person through. Very generous, right? And what are you doing while the other car is driving through the intersection? You're looking to see if he waves thank you.
Were you following me yesterday?
And hold on. And if he doesn't, you're going to say, fuck you. And if he does, well, then you got your reward. Same thing if you hold the door open for a woman. Does she say thank you? If she doesn't say thank you, well, that bitch, right? And if she does say thank you, well, then I got my reward. Nice guys that's the covert contract. That other driver or the woman, she doesn't know she's in a contract with me. She doesn't know she's in some sort of kind of deal with me where I'm doing this in order to get something. And if you don't give it to me, you're fucked up. That's the nice guy. That's the covert contract. That's nice guy thinking.
So there's some women or some men out there who are thinking like, so what's really wrong with that? Like, what's wrong with me letting somebody pass? What's wrong with me asking my partner, what do they want to eat? And so what's really wrong with it? Because somebody's listening here and feeling, because, and I want to talk about fear, because I know fear is a word that you stress a lot in your work and you unpack that. But somebody's sitting here and thinking, is there something wrong with me? Because these are the things that I believe. Or you hear, this is just me. This is how I was raised to do these things. That's how
we were raised. But that doesn't make it good. Yeah. Just because we were raised that way. If the way we were raised was always good, we would all have perfect parents. But we didn't have them. We didn't have them. So what's wrong with asking your partner what she or he wants for dinner? Nothing, except if it is compulsory. Except if it is constant and compulsory. There's an old joke or line that goes, and I'm sure you've heard it a million times, if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? Okay. So to a nice guy, every situation is about making the other person happy. So if I say to you, what do you want for dinner? And then the next day I say, what do you want for dinner? And the day after that I say, what do you want for dinner? Then that's all that we're doing. We're not doing anything else. And after a while, you're going to start to say something like, this is starting to feel pretty monotonous and routine. And on top of that, there's a lot of pressure on me to make all the decisions. And on top of that, one day I am going to ask you for something and maybe you don't want to give it to me, and I'm going to blow up at you because don't I give you everything? How come you don't give the one thing I want from you and you don't give it to me? But maybe it's something you don't want to give. Nice guys are compulsive. They do the same thing. They got one trick. They've got one trick and they do it over and over and over again. What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? Let me give it to you. What do you want? How can I make you happy?
I love it. By
the way, a nice guy with a partner, works out really well, particularly a demanding partner. Mm-hmm. But a nice guy with two people, like a mother and a wife, is in hell because they want two different things from him. He can't make everybody happy.
So, Mike, what are some of the tools from your guide that will help men pursue maybe some of their goals, their passions, deal with courage, develop more rewarding relationships, enhance their sex life, embrace their masculinity? So let's just break down this entire guide, man. Let's just break it down, because there's a nice guy out there who's struggling, and there's a person who's in a relationship with a nice guy, being in a male or a female, and looking and thinking like, you have some of those characteristics. Maybe I need to also shift and change. So let's go through this guide, how it helped them deal with all the things that I actually mentioned.
Okay. So let's just talk about the book itself for a second.
Let's go.
The book grew out of another book. The original book is called No More Mr. Nice Guy. It was written by a man by the name of Robert Glover, Dr. Robert Glover. Who was a therapist. At the time he was in Seattle, Washington. He now lives down in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. And in 2012,
big bucks. That's a big shift in where you move.
Real estate's a lot cheaper in Puerto Vallarta than it is in Seattle, let me tell you. But I read his book and I really resonated. And a lot of people who identify as nice guys, they read his book and they go, oh my God, this is me, right? Mm. So I read his book, I did a workshop with him, and I started doing the work. And then I started treating a lot of other nice guys. And everybody said the same thing. Hey, I read Dr. Glover's book. It was fantastic. It was all about me. Now, what do I do? because his book really lays out the syndrome, but it doesn't really tell guys what to do. So he's now a friend of mine. And I said to him, Robert, you got to write a workbook, an exercise book to go along with your book. And he said, I don't want to. Because he can now say what he wants. He's not a nice guy.
He's not a nice guy. I was thinking the same thing.
Exactly. So I said, I'll tell you what, I'll write it with you. And he said, I don't want to. You write it. So I said, okay. So I said, okay, I'll write it. So that's what I did. And what it is it kind of follows basically the same chapter structure, although I've added several chapters that, and it utilizes some of his ideas, some of my work as a psychotherapist, and a little bit of Joseph Campbell's notion of the hero's journey.
Great.
So yeah, I agree. So it takes a nice guy from kind of scared, dishonest, hiding, kind of passive or passive aggressive nice guy, and step by step through, there must be 50 or 60 exercises in the book. It takes him step by step out of that place and into a place of strength and healthy masculinity. So
what are some of your readers and some of your clients that you work with and coach? What are some of the things that they're actually saying? And what are some of their partners? I'm really more interested in hearing what their partners may be saying about after they read this book, after they've gone through some sessions with you, how they've actually changed. So let's talk about the person that's reading the book. What are some of the things that you're hearing? And then do you have any stories from anybody who has a partner who read the book and what they've actually noticed? Mm-hmm.
Well, there will be in the book, for every exercise, I give an example. And so and almost all the examples are either me or my patients. And so these are people who they hadn't read the book because I put it into write, but they are people who did work with me based on the principles that I'm putting out in the book. And what they're noticing is as they spend time with me and as they grow and change, they can start to do things that they couldn't do before. And they can do them not because they are guaranteed positive results, but because they're better able to handle whatever comes up. It's kind of like as a psychotherapist, when I was a beginning psychotherapist, I wanted to follow all the rules because I thought, okay, this is how you do it. This is what the book says, right?
Let me back up, man. I've been interviewing you for about 40 minutes. I can't see you as a rule follower, period.
I know. Neither can any of the people who ever tried to hire me. But I was. I did try to follow rules, and then after a very short time, as you've noticed, right? I thought, like, wow, yeah. But I was still scared to kind of step out. But the more experience I got as a psychotherapist, the more I was able to take all kinds of chances and say whatever was coming to my mind to my patients, not because I thought, this is going to like wow them or this is going to change their life, but because I didn't know what was going to happen. But I was much more confident that I could handle whatever happened next. And that's what my patients start to experience. Hey, I can ask for this, and I'm not, my girlfriend's not going to fall down or run out the door screaming because I asked to go to an Italian restaurant tonight, or because I decided I like kinky sex, or whatever it happens to be. I'm going to say what I want. I'm going to put it out there, and we're going to deal with it.
So what role does fear play in this nice guy syndrome? These individuals who are trying to change, making a change, but what role does fear play in that whole conundrum of what's happening with them?
Well, it plays a huge role because fear is the obstacle to change. And it's it's fear of several things. It's fear of change itself, because human beings like sameness and stability as a rule. And it's also fear of rejection. It's fear that if I'm different, not only will I not know who I am, no one else will know who I am, and they won't like me. And the only way that I get to stay in the presence of other human beings is to be nice. Mm-hmm. If I put out what I want, if I'm selfish, then that's it. They're going to get rid of me. They'll cut off my head. So everybody's always scared it'll turn out bad, scared they'll hurt other people, scared they'll get rejected. Everything is kind of encased in an entire fortress of fear. And you have the key. The key ultimately is courage. But it's also having, like a book like mine. Maybe there's other books like it out there. So I'm not just saying I wrote I didn't write the Bible, but I wrote a book that takes people step by step. And when you go step by step, change is easier. It's a lot easier than, because you can't really change your whole personality overnight. So going step by step will take you in a way that will feel more comfortable, and that requires less courage, and confronts the fear little by little over time. And I also have a whole chapter devoted to confronting fear. How do you kind of cut fear down to size when you're scared of something? How can you do it anyway?
Well, you talked about the keys, and I'm encouraging you all. One of the keys is Michael Pariser's book, No More Mr. Nice Guy, The Hero's Journey, a step-by-step guide to becoming an integrated male. I want to encourage you to pick up the book and listen to any and everything that he's doing. Follow him. What's new on the horizon for you, Michael? And then how can our listeners get in contact with you?
So what's new on the horizon is that I got a couple of things that I'm working on. One is Hero's Journey groups that are going to be based on the book. So let's say you read Dr. Glover's book and now you picked up mine and you open it up and it's kind of intimidating because there's all these exercises and how do I do them? And what I'm going to be doing is putting together small groups, like 6 to 10 guys, to go through the entire book. I might do some shorter groups to do introductory kind of exercises. But then I want to take people on the entire journey, kind of get on the boat, not literally, and like Jason and the Argonauts, like we're off to find the golden fleece. We're going to go through the book, at the end of which you will be a different kind of man than you are right now.
I love that. And so how can listeners get in contact with you to participate, not only just in the group, but then all the other things that you are doing?
You can go to my website or you can just email me. So my website is www.drparisertherapy.com, spelled DRPARISER therapy.com, or you can email me at michael@drpariser.com. And I'd be happy to talk to anybody about their goals and what they're trying to do and help them get the start that they're looking for.
Well, Dr. Michael Pariser, it has been a pleasure speaking with you, hanging out with you. I got to check my nice guy status. I'm going to ask my children. I'm like, is your dad a nice guy? Is he too nice? Like, do I need some type of therapy? So I'm going to ask them some of those questions as well, because I need to get my stuff together as we're going into 2021. Michael, it's great hanging out with you. But before you leave, my favorite part of the show is called the Super Bomb Questions, and they're brought to you by Mountain Made. It's an opportunity for me to ask some other questions that my listeners may want to know a little bit more information about you. So you got to answer these questions as quickly as possible. But I know you're ready. So you ready?
I'm not a fast thing. I'm like an emotions guy. Like it takes me. I got to resonate. All right, go ahead. I'll do my best.
These are going to be easy for you. So what's your favorite word?
Complexity.
You have a favorite quote?
Yeah, it's a kind of a long one. Can I say it?
Go ahead.
This is from a song called It's All Right, Ma by Bob Dylan. It goes, from the fool's gold mouthpiece, the hollow horn plays wasted words, proves to warn that he not busy being born is busy dying.
Bob, the great Bob Dylan in Greenwich Village. He probably said that in Greenwich Village somewhere.
He did. So you got to keep being born.
Always.
Yep. Keep on growing.
Keep on growing. What's your spirit animal?
The Tasmanian devil.
What is your superpower?
Honesty.
What do you wish you had more time to do?
Drink good wine.
What values do you live by every single day?
Words I've just said: courage, complexity, honesty, and never stopping searching and growing.
What guides your heart?
Love.
How do you express gratitude with those you love?
I wake up every morning with next to my person who has one of these and that we fit together. And I hold her in my arms and tell her how much I love her and how lucky I am to be with her.
If you were in the Mr. America talent competition, Dr. Michael Parisa, what would your talent be?
It would probably be telling jokes, but I don't know.
Well, that would be it.
It wouldn't be lifting weights.
It wouldn't be lifting weights. Well, Dr. Michael Parisa, I appreciate you. I thank you for hanging out with me in a bomb shelter. I love your humor. I love your emotion. No more Mr. Nice Guy. For those that are out there, no more Mr. Nice Guy. Take your masculinity back and just be who you were born to be. So, Michael, thanks for joining me today.
You got it. Thank you so much for talking. I had a great time.
Thank you. And I also want to thank my amazing engineer, Alexander Blunt, my super duper producer, Nicole Klimpaka, Supremacy for our theme music. I want to thank my team for my design shirts. This shirt says, I serve. If you want to pick up one, or if you want to know more about me, you can go to drlds.com. And as always, do something for someone other than yourself today. You've been listening to SoundBalming. Peace.
The Super Balm questions are brought to you by Mountain Made CBD. Mountain Made is changing the CBD game by offering a line of high-dose CBD tablets at an affordable price. Their products are THC-free and third-party tested for accuracy, cleanliness, and potency. Their products, which ship nationwide, include Build for CBD saturation, Boost for precision titration, and Recover for rest and rehab. With 9 years experience in hemp and fitness, Mountain Made's founders are focused on creating a quality product to help those who live an activated lifestyle. Check out mountainmade.life. Again, that's mountainmade.life to find out more about how their products can help you crush life. Remember, their products ship nationwide. Go check out their website today and follow them on social media at Mountain Made. That's the @MNTMADE. Our staff at SoundBalming uses Build before a morning workout, which helps to push our bodies to a whole new level on a daily basis. Try Build, try Boost, try Recover. Our staff is using these products to enhance our active lifestyle naturally, and we are crushing life with Mountain Made CBD, and you can too. Start today by going to mountainmade.life and ordering Build, Boost, Recover, or the multitude of other products that they have which will enhance your lifestyle. I promise you, you won't regret it.